Hey guys, this is Atul from team K21Academy, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to automate your deployment on Azure Cloud using or with the help of Terraform using Azure Pipeline. And as we always do, I'll first walk you through what we're going to learn in this, and then we'll actually go and do it on Azure Cloud. So let's first begin with what exactly this lab scenario consists of. So first of all, this diagram here on right hand side represents my Azure environment. And in that Azure environment, we are going to use Terraform, and that Terraform will be using Azure Pipeline, which is Azure CI/CD or DevOps tool, Azure Pipeline, that also acts as CI/CD. That will use infrastructure as a code using Terraform to deploy Azure Web App. What is Azure Web App? What is Terraform? What is Azure Pipeline? I'll briefly cover that. And then once we have that infrastructure built, which is Web App, then on the top of that, we are going to use .NET application. Now, the same logic that you are seeing for the .NET application, same logic can be used, or same thing can be used instead of .NET for Java, Python, or any other application on Azure Web App. So this is the overall lab we are going to cover. It will be very detailed, slightly lengthy, but it will be totally worth your time. Now, first, let's understand the key concepts. If you're a complete beginner, what this key concept means. So first and most important thing, we're going to talk about CI/CD, which is continuous integration and continuous delivery. And if you take it forward, a deployment, I will explain one of the common difference between people have is what is the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So if you look at the whole development, right from a developer developing the application and all the way till it's deployed and accessible to the user, that whole process is called as CI and CD, continuous integration, and then continuous delivery or deployment. So one of the common question is, hey, what's the difference between continuous delivery and deployment? So, but before that, what is CI, continuous integration? So you as a developer or someone as a developer will develop the application, but before that application can be deployed, that code must be collected and put it into a deployable unit, like it could be a WAR file, which is a web archive, ER file, which is an enterprise archive, jar file, which is a Java archive, or it could be maybe a image on to be deployed in container. So the process of that, like bringing code from multiple developers, bringing and putting into a deployable unit, that's continuous integration. Now, delivery is where that piece of code is deployed on an infrastructure, like maybe a web server or in this case, web app or any other infrastructure, but there is a testing or a human intervention required in order to test and deploy that in a production environment. Whereas continuous deployment is whatever you've done in delivery, but automating the whole process where there's no human intervention required. So that's the process CI/CD. So now in this particular case, there are multiple CI/CD tools, like there's a Jenkins is there, Team City is there, Circle CI is there, Bamboo is there, AWS pipeline is there. Similar to that, there's an Azure pipeline. So Azure pipeline is a CI/CD tool that we're going to use. In that Azure pipeline, you need to understand the concept of agent and agent pool again. So first is how to build your code and deploy your software using Azure pipeline. So in order to build your pipelines, it needs some agent to run which will collect the data or which go to the code, build the code, and in a deployable unit. So the build is done using an agent, and that agent will be, or collection of multiple agents is an agent pool. As a resource group is a where all your different resources of Azure, which is like things like your compute, your databases, your web app, storage, networking, everything under cloud is Azure resource group. Now in that there's a app service that we are going to deploy, and app service is nothing but a HTTP based web hosting tool. So you might have seen Apache or IIS server. In a deployment of that in a platform as service is the app service that we are going to use. Now this app service can be used, you can deploy any kind of application depending on when you're deploying the app service, what you're deploying. It can be a .NET based, .NET Core, Java, Ruby. When you're creating the app service, you decide what underlying runtime platform you want, which is a Python, PHP. So in this case, we are going to use .NET, but if let's suppose you have a Java application, you follow the same. Now, if you want to read more about Azure App Service, you can go into this documentation here. Then there's an app service plan. An app service plan is nothing but that is a collection, or like when you define app service, you need to find out, or you need to define how many CPUs you want, what kind of a virtual machine you want, underlying where you want to deploy, etc. All these things, what kind of a storage you need. So all these things, collection will be a service plan. That app service, when you're deploying, this will use this service plan as well. So this is in a nutshell conceptually. Then comes your final bit, which is Terraform. And Terraform is nothing but an infrastructure as a code tool which is used to automate the infrastructure build. And what I mean by infrastructure is your virtual machine build, for example, or web app, networking, storage, whatever you want to build on cloud or on-premise infrastructure that you can do using Terraform. In Azure, there's something similar called Azure Web App. In Azure, you have ARM templates, you have Bicep, Azure Bicep, or in AWS, coming from AWS background, you have AWS Cloud Formation. So all those are parallel to Terraform. So we're going to use that. So this is all basic concept. If you want to go more about, read further, there's a related documentation which will be given in this, which is infrastructure deployment, Terraform, app service, Azure pipeline, etc. as well. So this is in a nutshell we are going to cover. To recap, we are going to take a code from code repository. The CI/CD tool, my Azure CI/CD tool, will be looking the file. It will take that file, or it will go to the code repository, fetch Terraform file as well as ASP.NET file. Using the Terraform file, it will first install Terraform on the agent host, and then create my resource, which is a resource group, web app or app service, and then then the CD part will go and deploy that particular .NET application onto this web app which I've created, and that's what we can access it. So I've just covered you the lab scenario. I've covered you this overview of concepts. We will be, I've given you the documentation, and before we actually go and do it, which I'm going to cover in the next part, there is a prerequisite which you should already have. I've already built that. We have covered these prerequisites in one of the previous lessons. So first thing is you should have an Azure account, paid account. And if you don't have Azure account, I'm going to show you, you can pick it from other place. So this is, I've already logged in and created portal.azure.com. And if you don't have, there should be a link on inside the portal for how to create this Azure portal account. Then you also have Azure DevOps account. So I think you can go to dev.azure.com and you can use the same ID. I think earlier it used to be 2 separate IDs, but using the same login window, you can use same Azure Active Directory behind the scene. So if you don't have, you can go and create login. They're already logged in here. So one thing I've noticed is that it should ideally go to dev.azure.com. It logs in back to Azure portal, portal.azure.com, which is Azure portal, and you can simply search DevOps. And if you see here, Azure DevOps organization, so this is the one which way I need to go. So if I click on Azure DevOps, it's taking me onto the Azure DevOps cycle, which is Azure DevOps here. So you should already have that. We should already have that covered somewhere in the past earlier, this particular thing. Now, once you have done that, that's when we'll go and actually cover the actual task, which is we are going to configure a project on which we are going to do this whole CI/CD. Then what we are going to do is then we are going to automate this infrastructure build in Terraform using Azure pipeline. In that, I'm going to import. Let me show you first what I'm going to do here. So I'm logging into my project, or which I've already created a project. And if you don't know, there's a prerequisite or guide where you know how to create a project. I'm going to use a demo generator using that, which is Azure DevOps demo generator. I'll explain you in the next part what that means. So we'll use this demo generator to bring all these artifacts like Terraform and other projects already in DevOps pipeline. Once I've done that, as a part of this demo, we are automatically getting some files, and you can use those files to deploy the Terraform part and then the web app part. Once it's done, I'm going to show you what happens behind the scene, and there's some things, interesting thing, the whole CI/CD part I'm going to show you here. So we will deploy, we'll first do CI, which means continuous integration, which is this part, which is here left hand part, which is from code pipeline. It'll create a ASP.NET artifact and Terraform file. And then we'll do CD, which is actually this part, which is here, deployment part or delivery part, which is here. And then finally, we'll test the application accessibility. And once we have done, we'll clean up the resources. If you hit any problem, you should refer to this troubleshooting section, which I've encountered, which I'll cover that later. So let's first go and configure the team project. and everything inside the Azure DevOps is inside a project, and we are going to create a project but using a demo generator or through something called as Azure DevOps demo generator, which will give you all the required artifact. It's kind of a kickstart. It will bundle everything for you, and you can then improve on top of that. And once I show you, you'll understand what I mean by that if you've never done. So you use this demo generator, which Microsoft gives you the predefined CI/CD pipelines written for you. So pick this URL demo generator here, click here, enter, and you click on and say Azure DevOps generator. So sign in and start creating Azure DevOps. So click on sign in. First is I'm supposed to search here organization, but it looks like the organization is missing. So there's no drop down in organization, which means in this account, in this DevOps account, I've never created a organization. So another prerequisite, I should already have an organization. So how do I go and create organization is I go to dev.azure.com. And now in my Azure DevOps, I need to, this is because I'm first time, it looks like this account has never been used. So I'm logging in first time on this. So first is I'll give a project name. So I'll project name maybe K21Academy demo is the project name, or maybe CI/CD is the project name that we are doing. Now a project can have a enterprise level visibility or public or private. As name suggests, I'm going to keep it public for now, which means anyone can see this project. And this is our, if you want to know or notify about the DevOps other like basically tips and offers, we'll skip this. And I'll just type this number here, whatever is, and click on continue here. Now it's going to go and build my organization. It's okay. The specified name is reserved, so I can't use that name, organization name. So I'll change it. And so this is nothing but my organization name, which might be K21Academy. And if it's already being created, we'll see that if it's already there. So this is already taken off. So I'll say K21Academy 21 or maybe say 23. So I'll say 2306 is my organization name. So project will be inside the organization, and this project will hosted on UK South region. The project name is K21Academy CI/CD. It's public visibility. And let's now go and create QPJQ. Click and hit enter and continue. And it's taking me to this Azure DevOps organization. And now I'm ready to create a project. Okay, I think I thought I created a project, but let's create a project name again, which is K21Academy CI/CD, and create a project here. So my organization is K21Academy 2306. Inside that, I've created a project called K21Academy My CI/CD. This is the project which I've created. Now in that, there's one more setting, which is I need to enable parallelism. And what that parallelism is, let me see if I have a document. This is when we are doing creating a free account. This is one of the guide that we have already covered in past on creating. And let's see, free build pipeline parallelism. This is again, we need to enable parallelism. In order for me to go into the organization level setting, I'll click on this organization here. And then if you see, notice here on bottom right, this is my organization setting. So I'll click on this organization setting here. Now what you need to do is you need to come to this setting here called organization level settings, and come under drop down, there's a parallel jobs. And if you see here that public project is 0 parallel jobs, and on self-hosted there's 1 parallel host on for private project as well. So private project, again parallelism is 0, and for self-hosted also there's only 1 parallelism. So for both, if you're creating a private project, the parallelism should be, you can request 10. Similarly for public project also, maybe 10. And how to do it is, I think we'll have a separate guide where we covered, but again, this is a blog which you've written where how to resolve no hosted parallelism has been purchased or granted. So there's a URL, or there's a guide, separate guide, which you'll be referring to enable parallelism. So you simply go to this page, which is aka.ms, AZ pipelines parallelism request. Go to this page and fill this form for parallelism. Again, we should have a separate video and guide to refer that. Now what I'm going to do is, in order to save time, I'm going to log into another account where parallelism is already enabled, so we don't hit this, because it will take maybe a day or two to enable parallelism. So for that, I'm going to use a different account where parallelism is already enabled for you. So make sure that you have parallelism enabled in your account before moving forward on this lab. Otherwise, if you have not done that, pause and stop here. Enable parallelism and come back to this guide again once that's been done. So if you notice here, I've logged in from a different account now this time, and if I click on organizational settings for this account, and if I go under my parallelism, one second, this parallel jobs, and if you notice here, public project has 10 on, and private project also up to one parallel job for free tier, and for public I have 10. So I think I'm going to create a project on public here. Now let's go and create on this documentation. Let's go back to this Azure DevOps pipeline generator, and I already have created a project. Again, in one of the previous guides, how to create a project should already be there, or otherwise you can go back to here on Azure DevOps and you can create a project by clicking on create a new project if you don't have. I already have a couple of projects created. So I've copied again, gone back to Azure demo generator and clicked on this demo generator and click on sign in again here. It'll automatically log in and use my other ID. I'm using my colleague's email ID here. Now here, there are a couple of organizations we have created. I'm going to use this K21 here. And once it's done, I need to give a name of the project. Give it a few minutes for this to come up. So now I'm going to select a template, and template I'm going to use is for me the Terraform specific, which is under this DevOps labs. So I'll select the template for this demo generator is using Terraform. There are other templates for that you want to do for Ansible, for Docker, and so on. Currently, for this particular lab, we are going to Terraform. So I'll select this lab project here, and then close here. And once you've selected this, click on this select template, which is on this right hand side, and you see the selected templates as Terraform. I think it might have gone again. So select organization again if you see missing. And then under project name, whatever project name you say. So in this case, I'm saying Terraform and CI slash or Terraform CI/CD or something. Yeah, whatever name you want to give it. I'll keep it Terraform CI/CD K21, whatever name. And then from drop down, you go and select. These are other policies related to OAuth. We'll cover that as we go forward. We'll see these and click on create project. Once it's you will see it here that your project is being created. I'll pause it for a minute here, and then once project is created, I'm going to show you how does it look like inside the portal for you. So if you notice here, it says the project has been if you say congratulations, your project is successfully provisioned and navigate to project. Let's look at the parallel in the documentation as well. I've selected the Terraform, select template. I went into there, choose template here, and then depending on, you might also ask, it might also ask more extensions not enabled in your Azure DevOps organization. You select all of them and click on create project. Because I've already selected that, it has already picked up. I already created a project in past, so that's why it's picked up already. Next is I go and click on navigate project. So I'm going to come here and say navigate to project. Or you can directly go under projects. You should be able to see the same thing which we saw earlier under your Azure DevOps pipeline here, Azure DevOps here. So this is my organization. Inside that, I have the project called K21 Terraform CI/CD, and that is where you will have all my other things like repositories. This is where, or any project that you see in Azure DevOps. Again, we covered it at the first initially when we were doing looking at the dashboard, but again our console. This is where my Azure boards are. This is my repo, which is all my code files are. This is where I have two parts, which is pipeline, and that I have CI/CD, which is continuous integration, and continuous delivery, which is releases delivery. So now what happens is when you exported or we bought this project, you automatically get all the files. So first we are going to examine some Terraform files on this. So you go to Azure DevOps under repo. There should be files. So that is what we are going. So parallelly, let me open this. Let me move this on right hand side here. I'm going to go to repo. So this is my Terraform repo, and in my repo, and that is inside the project, there is a Terraform, this drop down here from master, and there'll be under branches, there'll be a Terraform branch. So we'll go and look at the Terraform branch. Under this is a main master branch, and then we scroll down here, you'll see the Terraform branch here, and inside the Terraform branch, then we are going to look at the contents, files, content, and then we're specifically looking inside webapp.tf. So let's look at webapp.tf, webapp.tf. So this is nothing but a Terraform, and if you're not familiar with the Terraform, I highly recommend you to start learning Terraform, where we go and look at, I'll quickly explain you what this Terraform look like. I'm saying I'm looking for Terraform version which is greater than or equal to 0.11. In that, it's creating a storage account, which has a container. And what happens is Terraform, when it builds, it creates a state file, which is all the configuration related to Terraform inside that state file. So we're going to key or where this Terraform is under this terraform.state file. This is for storing. We are creating a storage account. In that, we'll be having my state file of Terraform. Now, as a part of the script, I'm creating a Azure resource group, Azure resource group, which is pull Terraform is the name of the resource group. Inside that, I'm creating a service plan. And so remember, when I was starting this, at the start, I said we're going to create a Azure app service. That app service will be leveraging Azure service plan. So that service plan will tells me that what is the name of the service plan, where is the location of that, what is the resource group name, which is resource group which I've created earlier, and then what is the this Azure app service plan will have a free tier of size F1, and then we are creating an app service. So this my Terraform is actually creating the infrastructure services. If you look at the diagram here now, if you remember on here, this is my Terraform script, which is going and creating these resource group and a web app service here. So let's go back down again. So this is my Terraform file. Then there's one more a setting is required. So next is there's something called as part unlimited website. This is the website which is a web app.net application which we are doing. So that is visible under src file. So let's go under src. So if I go under src, and there's a part unlimited website folder, parts unlimited website folder. Inside that, there's a file called CS project, like is a part unlimited CS project, unlimited CS project. So this is the file which is part unlimited CS project. There's one setting which we need to do, which the setting we need to enable is that error on duplicate publish output file is false. So if there's a duplicate publishing, then we are saying don't configure or don't share error. This is, I think we encountered some of the issue in past, and where we asked our developers. So you don't need to do as a CI/CD. Your developer should be able to tell these things for you. So just this is one of the configurations. We go and check here under this line after target framework. Okay, you need to edit it. So click on this edit button here, and then after edit, you go and copy paste and say commit on here. Basically, we are saving this. Let's see if there's anything else. No, commit, and just say that commit. So this is, I need to move right hand side, click on commit, and it's updated. Then further, once this is done, we are now building our build pipeline, basically CI, which we'll call build pipeline. So we have got the file, but we are going to go and build the pipelines. We go under pipelines. This is my pipelines, and I have there are two ways which are CI using normal CI, and then the second way is about YAML file. So let's go into pipeline, and we'll say we are picking this Terraform CI pipeline, and then we'll look at the queue under queues here, and then we'll say run my pipeline. So what it's doing is behind the scene, it's already configured. It's going to fetch the data from repo and build this pipeline here. So select this Terraform CI, and we'll say run pipeline. So this is where you need to understand now it's using agent pool Azure pipeline. That's already, a pool was already created. You should already have that now, because we bought this project that already has defined all these settings for me, which is Azure pipeline. And now I have to do the Azure, which I think Windows 2019. We leave it all the default settings here. Let's go back on to point here and simply say run here. So simply say run here. Now behind the scene, it's running this, or this one job is added into this. One job is added here, and I'm running this from my colleagues. So we click on this agent job run. Click on this. It's telling you what exactly it's doing. So it's basically running this, and you can go through all these settings. It's basically fetching the data and creating my deployable artifacts, which is my .NET application and it's going to go and configure. Let's wait for this and see what happens. So it's currently building those files, and it will bring them our two things, which is a zip file, which is part unlimited website.zip. That is where my .NET application is, and second is webapp.tf file, which is my Terraform file. So I'll pause this recording here now, and I'll come back once these files are ready for me. So it's been 4 or 5 minutes, still doing these tasks. So if you look at it, it's installed a .NET app executable and a lot of other things. So it's still running it. So I'll probably keep it running. And it's 11,000 lines. It's bringing, it's basically fetching the data and creating a .NET deployable artifact. So if you see, its build is now running. So it's initially initialize the job, check out the Terraform, these things, install .NET Core, restore the files, and now it's building the executable or the zip file as well as the TF file as well. So I'll pause again here. So I think it's around another 5-6 minutes, and I have this job completed now. It's, if you see, all green check mark. If you come back onto the main screen here, and I see now there's some warnings. I think it's safe to ignore those warnings, and it says one published, one consumed. I just click on this one published, one consumed, and see what output comes here. So it's one published, it has published output under a dot folder, and in that I have part unlimited website.zip file. That is where my .NET code is. If I look at this documentation, and then it also has given me the Terraform file, which is webapp.tf. So what we have done so far is, if you look at it, this diagram on here. So earlier I had a cop in GitHub or Git repo or Azure repo. Azure Pipeline has picked up these and they've created a .zip file and this Terraform. So this is my CI part, which is continuous integration. Now I'm going to do continuous delivery. In Azure terms, it's called as a release or delivery, one and the same thing. Azure or Microsoft Azure, they say a release, which is going to pick up and then create this Terraform file from here. So let's go back onto this documentation one more time, continue frame. We are now done CI. Let's continue with CD, which is my release. So this time I'm going to go to pipeline and click on a release part. Now, wherever you're watching this, there should be this guide, which you can refer, and anything that changes will keep updating in this guide. So click on pipeline. Pipelines. Under pipeline, this is my CI, which is pipeline, and this is my release, is my CD. So this is my CI and this is CD. So click on release, and we don't have any release, so we probably might be creating a new release. All pipelines, Terraform CD. This is what we need to do under pipelines, Terraform CD under releases. So this is my Terraform CD that we have just now received. Terraform CD. Now, once I click on that, I should be getting a new release of this Terraform CD. So click create a release. I've already selected this Terraform CD and then click on edit here. So Terraform CD and click on this edit button. I already have that delivery already built by that tool. So what it's saying is that Terraform CI, from here, it's going to deploy it on a dev environment. So let's see what that is doing. So we click on one job, a task. We'll click on this job and see what happens with this one job. There's a one job of deployment or delivery. In that, within a job, there are 8 tasks. So we'll just click on and see what it's doing. So within this delivery on this job, the first task is Azure CLI to deploy resources. So what's happening is, and these are some steps within that delivery. So first step is I'm creating a CLI, using CLI to deploy the Azure required resources, and what these resources are, I'll explain that as well in a minute. So first and most important is this is my DevOps, which needs to go to my Azure Cloud account. And if I look at in this particular documentation, if I go back now, it's always good to explain by the pictures. So my Azure pipeline, Azure DevOps, it's going and creating or connecting onto this Azure Cloud here. So that means it needs a connection here. So, and that is what connection we are giving. So let me go back, continue here. Yeah. So from this drop down, I have Azure subscriptions. I already did a connection in past. Otherwise, what it'll do is you'll create a Azure subscription and it'll create a connection for you. I already created a Azure service account connection. So you go and use this connection here for me. I think that's been gone. So let me create one more time because I did it for the previous lab earlier. So I'll say this is my subscription and I'll need to select and say authorize. This will create a connection and my Azure DevOps will use that connection to connect to this Azure Cloud account. This is my service connection. This is the connection it's going to use that to connect. Now, script is within inline, and what it's doing is, let's explain. This is very important first of all. So it's creating Azure group create. It's creating an AZ group, which is Azure resource group inside that location, and it's creating a storage account. So basically what it's doing is storage account. In that storage account, it's creating a container, and in that container, it's using my Terraform key. So it's basically my state will be stored here. So that's one. Once it's created the storage, then it's going to go and create a storage key. So again, let me go back into the parallel documentation just in case if I have not missed anything. So this is just authorize, and I've just authorized here. Next is I'm going to go to the PowerShell command here. So this is using PowerShell, same connection type. So I'm going to use Azure Resource Manager connection type, and my subscription is the connection that I've created earlier just now. So which is my Azure Service connection here. And what is getting is it's retrieving the key and keeping that key, storage key that we are going to use for my Terraform account. So that's also check mark correct. This is all fine. And now we are saying replace token file. Let's see if there's anything on replace. It's worth looking at this documentation for you. So there's nothing on from a point, which is my replace token. Number 3, there's not much. Then this is already selected. Then it's saying install Terraform here 1.3. Now Terraform init, this is where I need to update something, which is some settings need attention. So we'll look at what services need attention. Terraform init. Inside that, first I need a subscription connection. So this is, if I go again here, Azure subscription is the connection which I've done, Azure service connection endpoint. And again, first time I'm going to do, it becomes a little bit confusing, but once you do understand what you're doing, second time you repeat this lab, it will become much more easier. So inside that, I need to give the container name. Name of the container is Terraform, and the key is my terraform.tf state. Yes. And I think, see if it's already saved. And now it's checked Terraform init is correct. Now plan also. So again, Terraform, there are 3 stages. One is init, plan, and apply. So init is initialization, which will validate the configuration. Plan is which will actually go and execute. Sorry, it'll see that my configuration, all the code, everything is right and ready, and it can be executed successfully. And then in apply phase, it's actually applying that. So under plan, I have to look at this parameter dash out is equal to tf plan. So there's an additional. First, I need to do the subscription again, which is my service connection which I've created earlier, and additional command output, which means about dash out is equal to tf plan. Dash out is equal to tf plan, and it's all perfect. And then finally apply auto approve. So if I go under apply auto approve, and what happens is when I'm configuring apply, my Terraform prompts and say, hey, do you want to approve this? And you say yes. So instead of that, I'm auto approving this command here. So auto approve, and then auto approve dash auto approve tf plan. So I'm going to change here and add tf plan, and there I'm going to do the Azure subscription as well, which is this drop down here, network connection. And now, and then final thing is, so once I've created infrastructure, which is my Azure app, so as Azure Web App, this has deployed the Azure Web App. Now on top of that, once it's done, it's going to deploy this service, which are .NET based service. So that is where we need to provide some settings again, which is from this drop down, which is Azure App Service Connection here. And let's see if there's any other parameter which I might have missed. That's pretty much here. So this task is actually, if you notice, this task which actually deploy the zip file that we have got it from CI into Azure App Service. Okay, so once that's done, I think we are pretty much done on this particular part, and then we are going to save this as well. And I think we need to put a comment. I think they've already okay, so comment and say whatever comment you want to give, and say okay. We have made these settings, make sure that everything is tick mark correct here under agent, and then we'll go on to, oh, I think I already saved agent job. So click on this agent job, and we verify that what's happening with this agent job. So it's agent job, it's using Azure pipeline. That is the agent pool, and agent is running on a Windows 2019 server on this. So I don't think there's anything else. I've already saved it, and now I'm going to say create a release here. So if I go back, this saved, already saved, and create a release. So I'm going to saying create a new release. Terraform CD and checkmarks dev box here. So what we're doing here is like from the stages for a trigger change. So on how should this release should be triggered, and it could be automated or manual. We are doing it a manual. We are saying from this drop down you select a dev environment, select dev manual, and let's see if there's any other setting I need to do here. I think that's pretty much. I give a version, Terraform version, whatever is version available, Terraform from this drop down here. So what is available here, and then simply if you want to give a description, give a description and click on create button here. So click on create, and now one release has been created. What we're going to do is we're going to review on. We'll go back to the Terraform CD release 1 blade. So if you go back onto my Terraform CD, all pipelines, Terraform CD release. This is my release 1, which we have just now created. So click on release 1. We have manually triggered this one. We click on this dove here, and then we are now ready to deploy this one. So this is what we are saying, deploy, and click on deploy button here, and you add a comment and click on deploy. So now there's one job that has been queued. If you see now Azure pipeline, this is now I'm doing CD and it's being queued for execution. If you want to see the log, and you can see what exactly this deployment part is doing, you can go back to otherwise pipeline. You can click on and saying there are 8 tasks. This is exactly currently working on first task, which is under log. It's saying what exactly it's doing. It has already done something, which is initialized job that has been done. Second part is downloading artifacts, and you can then keep looking at all the things, what's happening behind the scenes. It's pretty intelligent, and then you can go and look at very, very detailed information right here. So second task is download. Now it's saying Azure CLI to deploy required resources. It's deploying some resources, and it's cloud. It's logging to the cloud, and it's doing some task which is using this account. So keep monitoring, and I would highly recommend you to go through and understand one. Anything fails, we'll come to know here. When I did it, if you see now, it's creating an account, storage account. So we can go and look at Terraform storage, some name. So it's creating a storage account. I can go now onto the Azure portal. So it's portal.azure.com. Under West US, it's creating a storage account. So we'll go and look into the storage account. Let's see. So it has created a storage account. Let me pick out the name of the storage account, which was something to do with Terraform. So you simply go and verify these storage accounts, and it has created under Terraform RG resource group. It has created a resource group called Terraform RG. Inside that, it has created a resource called Terraform SG storage account, this storage account. And inside that, there should be container. So let's see, storage container, and that container will have the containers that I think there should be a container called Terraform, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it has created a Terraform container, and inside that there's a Terraform.tf state which will be used. So we have done successfully here, and let's see what it's doing. So close this, and let's see what task it is. So it has done my CLI, it says in PowerShell, it says replace token Terraform, it's installed Terraform in it. Now it's doing the plan, which is whole plan, which is doing. So at any point in time, if it fails, you know where exactly what exactly it's doing. Now it's on auto-approve task of this job. So let's go into this resource group, what it has done. It has created a resource group. Everything is under a resource group called Terraform something. So let's go back to resource group here, and which is Terraform RG resource group. That is the one which is created. Inside that resource group, it has created a storage account for now. We should have a web app as well if it's successfully created. So it's doing something. I'll pause in the middle as well. It's trying to pull Terraform plan from this file. Yeah. So pause somewhere in the middle. If I close this, what it's doing is, if it's saying it's deploying web app right now. Azure App Service is deploying app service right now onto the portal. So adding files, it's pulling a lot of things. So by Terraform init, if you want to see that's being done, it has used Terraform running from a Windows host, agent host, and now it's doing app service. And once it's completed, successfully deployed web package to the app service. So if I go, it has created a app service. I was hoping to see it under app service. So let's see under app service. It might be creating under different, yeah. So it is created inside a different pull Terraform plan. Okay, so it has created a app service plan, this which we saw. I want to see in which resource group it is created, but so if I click on web app, create. So it has created a and this is my default domain. This is name. These are all under resource group called pull Terraform, PUL Terraform. And if we go into the command Terraform script, you will see that it's under this resource group. Let's go back to the CD, and it's saying job successfully completed here right now. And then once it's done, once it's successfully completed, we go back to my under app service. You should have this app service already running now here, and it will be with this name pull Terraform web. Click on this, and you can go through all the details about app service if you want to go further deep onto this. But how do you access? There will be a default domain here. Just click on this. It will open my website or whatever is app deployed on this. And if you see now, wow, this is my Path Unlimited website that we have just deployed using CI/CD. And that's pretty much all in this particular thing. But before you go, there are a couple of other things you need to do. I'll wrap it up. We'll explain you what it means and everything. But before you go, ensure you clean up the resources, otherwise it'll eat up your resources on Microsoft Azure. How to do that, we'll explain. But before that, go and update in LinkedIn profile. The reason why we ask you, we complete this package, whatever you've learned, watch this video one more time, make your notes in terms of what all you've learned, different services, etc. As much as you can, maybe bullet points, 10-15 points, and say in this lab you have successfully created this. Take a screenshot of this particular maybe a website, as well as this Azure, this particular screenshot, maybe another one, this one, and maybe one doing CI/CD part as well. Couple of screenshots, post in LinkedIn. The reason why we ask you to or recommend you to do it in LinkedIn is that it will inform all the potential employers or recruiters, as well as if you tag us K21Academy, we'll amplify that about your reach on. That will give a good impression that you're working on those. Second is in our WhatsApp group, make sure that you inform others saying that you have done this lab. That way, it will inspire us to do more of these labs, and will also inspire others to take action. They will also start doing these labs, and that's how we learn together. So do these tasks, and once that's done, go and remove these two resource groups that we have created. So there are two resource groups. One is, which we saw, resource group which is pull Terraform, and you can simply go and delete this resource group. When you delete this resource group, all the resources within under this will go away. So I'm going to basically delete by clicking it here. So I'm coming here, the first resource group was pull Terraform, delete resource group, and you need to type that command again, or the resource group name. Anything that you delete, it prompt you to delete or confirm that deletion again, which is resource group name, which in my case is pull Terraform plan. No, the resource group name was PULTERRAFORM, this pull Terraform, and click on delete here and say delete resource here. So deleted, and like that I'll go with other resource group, which is pull Terraform RG, and click on delete resource group and say type here, click on delete, say click confirm delete. That will clean up my resource groups. Now, if you hit any problem, you can delete this from a Cloud Shell as well, the Cloud Shell using command line, or the GUI is one of the same thing that you can do either of them. Now, if you hit any problem, that should be covered in the troubleshooting section. When I was doing first time earlier, it failed, and it failed on one of the scripts on this particular file when I was doing Terraform init. And why it failed was, if you look at the error message, and let me make it slightly bigger, this, and that probably will understand. So first of all, it failed at Terraform init state, and what it failed was, error message was that status code 404, and it's unable to find storage service account workspace, which was, it's trying to create a workspace container, and it's saying container not found. And the reason why the container was that it takes some time for if you notice here on the first stage here, it creates a CLI, and it basically creates a storage account. Inside that, it creates a container, and that container is used to host my update file, and that container was not created. It takes some time. So maybe if you hit a problem like this, make sure that it's about storage account, which is container not found, and if that is the case, then you can go and check if storage account is created or not, the way I showed you earlier. If not, go and create, or you can manually yourself also go and create it, or wait for this to finish. Sometime it can happen that it might fail, and if you wait and you read on the script, it should work. So that's pretty much in this particular lab. I'll do a quick recap on what we have learned. So what we covered with this lab was that we created automating an infrastructure on deployment using Azure Cloud, automating the infrastructure deployment on Azure Cloud with Terraform using Azure Pipeline. And this was the lab which we did. We had a code which Azure Pipeline picked up from Azure repo, created as a part of CI got .NET as well as Terraform.tf file, and then CD part picked up that again Azure Pipeline picked up that Terraform, installed on the local on this agent, installed Terraform software, and then using the Terraform it created a resource group, and inside that basically the web app. And then second part which this release pipeline went and deployed that .NET application, and we were able to access. With that, this is Atul from team K21Academy. Thanks for watching this. Now go and do it and then post it on LinkedIn as well as WhatsApp group. And I can't wait to help you on another lab. Take care and bye for now.